How are we doing, guys? Always to be. First video back for ages from me. I apologise for that, guys. I promise we'll be back to regularly uploading. So guys, anyway, hope everyone is doing okay. Everyone's staying safe and everyone's safe and well, etc, etc. You know, I hope everyone's doing okay. So the main reason for this video is to give you the latest updates on what's going to happen for the rest of the football season. So again, quite a few developments in the last couple of days. It looks like potentially English football is coming back on June the 20th across the top two divisions in England. We already know on June the 17th, Man City play Arsenal, Sheffield United play Aston Villa. Those four teams have games in hand, so they're playing those games first. So I assume they're going to see how those games run, and then potentially, maybe later than June the 20th, but we are looking at the football season coming back. You know, we've had a lot of different speculation. I think throughout the lockdown, you know, the whole team's tried to keep you as updated as we can in terms of the information we've seen, anything we might get told, etc, etc. You know, I've heard loads of different things, and to be honest, you know, it's all been several different things. You know, points per game, we're definitely going down points per game routes. The season's definitely going to be null and voided no matter what. They're going to play the season no matter what, etc, etc. We've heard so many different things at the end of the day, but it looks like they are going to go down the play and finish the season route. So yeah, there's a few things to discuss about that. It looks almost certain that is what English football's going to go down. Of course, I've been doing constant coronavirus tests among the top two divisions. I think the last one actually had 10 positive tests, which is quite a lot, to be fair. It's an increase from what the last one was, which I think was about 4, I think, across the EFL. So yeah, quite a big increase that, but whether that's going to delay anything, I don't know. All I can say is that I know in the German football, you know, I've been watching quite a lot of the Bundesliga. I think they had some positive tests, but ran the season on. You know, it was as long as it was the very big minority, I think they carried it on. But whether that's fair or not fair, I don't know. But all I can say is the facts. It looks like football is coming back. And to be honest, guys, initially I was against that. I was against the idea of football coming back. I think the two big reasons for that was lack of intensity and no one being at the games. You know, I thought that was going to massively impact on the quality of the games. But to be fair, I think the Bundesliga has shown the way. I think they've seen some absolutely top quality games. I think the Dortmund-Bayern Munich game in midweek was absolutely fantastic to watch. Borussia Dortmund-Bayern Munich, in terms of intensity, quality, you know, I thought it was really, really good, especially the first half. I think, to be fair, I think all the games I've seen have been really good. So, on the basis that English football's had longer to kind of prepare for this in terms of a pre-season, if you like, a mini pre-season, I think the intensity should be good, and I think the quality should be good, and I see no reason why football shouldn't come back. You know, I think if fans aren't going to be allowed in grounds, which has been reported until January, you know, there was a leaked voicemail published on the Yorkshire Evening Post a couple of weeks ago. You know, if fans aren't able to go to games till January anyway, we might as well finish the season. Yeah, there's no reason not to. And to be honest, you know what, the more and more I think of it now, you know, the more I see teams go, oh, you know, points per games, rubbish, points per games, this and that. And I have to agree, I think points per games are really narrow-minded way to look at a season. You know, there's so many different limitations to it. And I have to be honest, looking at it in hindsight, I have to say I got it wrong when I said points per game is the best route to go down. I think finishing the season 100% the best way to do it. I think, you know, from a Leeds perspective, you know, I'm so proud of the club. You know, they could have gone down the easy route, push for points per game, you know, being champions, etc, etc. But we want to win it on merit. It's what it's been about. It's the mentality of the club is now to win things on merit, to entertain. You know, results are almost secondary. It's all about entertainment and giving value for money, and that's absolutely fantastic to see that the football club's, you know, showing a real example. And to be fair, Liverpool and West Brom as well, I have to give both those two clubs credit for the way they've behaved during the pandemic. I think obviously Liverpool initially had that furloughing controversy, but I think ever since that, you know, you have to look at Jordan Henderson, etc, etc. You know, raising money for the NHS. You know, there's been some fantastic initiatives from those three clubs especially. I think there's obviously been other clubs as well. So yeah, I think it has been a case of, yeah, football has come together in a lot of cases, and hopefully, you know, the League One, League Two clubs who look like this, and non-league clubs who look like their season's going to be decided on points per game, and you know, their income is very reliant on, you know, their overall income is very reliant on match day income. I think a lot of Championship clubs' overall income is reliant on match day income. I hope that the bigger clubs in England, you know, the teams in the Premier League, the huge TV right deals, the huge kit sponsorship deals, etc, etc, are going to help these clubs out. You know, we're not going to see clubs go under, and that's a big thing, really. football has got to come together for me, and so far it has. To be fair, there's been the odd little instance. I think obviously the bottom 6 of the Premier League's been well documented. I think I'd be embarrassed, to be honest, if that was one of my if I was supporting the team in that bottom 6, the way they've kind of behaved the last couple of weeks, just purely through self-interest. This idea of at 1 minute they're talking about player safety, and then they're saying, okay, we can play the games again. Yeah, I don't think you're that bothered about player safety, but no relegation. So, there's some teams who kind of want it both ways. They want to play the games, get the TV money in, etc., etc., but they don't want the cost of relegation. It doesn't quite work like that. It doesn't work like that. And thankfully, that isn't the route the Premier League, EFL, FA are going to allow those 6 teams to take. They have got to play the games, and I don't see any reason, any way how any team from that bottom 6 can have any complaints about potentially being relegated when they're playing the games anyway. It's been done on merit. They're actually being given the opportunity to fight for the survival. It's absolutely crazy to me. I'm sure there'll be teams from the bottom 6 who want to comment, etc., etc. But that's, if I've got it wrong, I've got it wrong. But at the end of the day, I'm sure a couple of Brighton fans told me on Twitter how badly wrong I got it. I don't think I have, to be honest. I think I know which teams have behaved with integrity during this pandemic, and I know which ones haven't. I've seen some teams in the Championship as well, but end of the day, all I can say is that I think our team has behaved with incredible integrity and has led the way. Being prepared for this virus. We took precaution, we took it serious from the first minute. The whole club, Andrea Radrizzani made a trip to Italy, has been well documented in February, and wanted to have a quick reaction from the team, and it was just being proactive about the situation, and showing the way really is that's such a change from Leeds. From you kind of going back 2 or 3 years ago. Do you really think this Leeds team would have turned down an opportunity for points per game pre-Marcelo Bielsa, or would have prepared as well for this pre-Marcelo Bielsa? I don't think so. So it just shows the huge impact Marcelo Bielsa and Andrea Radrizzani have had in this football club, the whole mentality of this football club, not just on the pitch, off the pitch as well, as we've shown in the last couple of weeks. But guys, it does look like football is returning. So let's just finish this fucking thing. Let's just get promoted. Let's just finish the job. Let's just get as many points on the board as we can and just finish the job, and just try and give the fans something to cheer. I think obviously it's not going to be the same celebration as what it was before. Before the pandemic. But at the end of the day, let's just finish the season. Let's just get the job finished. But I think there was 2 things I wanted to talk about in this video. And I asked you guys about as well on Twitter. So potentially, if we're finishing the season, looking like starting on June the 20th for all the teams, and then potentially finishing right at the end of July or right at the start of August, potentially you're looking at 2 potential issues there. I think the first one to talk about is a massively shortened pre-season going into next season, because as we know, next season's in the future, but it's not that far in the future. We have got to think about that as well. Particularly going into next season, the pre-season of next season, it's going to be massively shortened. You think about player conditioning, player fitness, etc., etc. Could be potentially be an issue. I want to hear what your guys' thoughts were on that. And then the other issue was discussion about neutral venues for ourselves. Liverpool, West Brom, Man City, I think have been Man United as well. I think Everton. I think those 6 clubs have been discussed about having to play neutral venues potentially for some games. But again, pure speculation so far. There's nothing confirmation as such has been made as of yet. But those 2 things could potentially be happening. So I asked what your guys' thoughts were about that. So I'm just going to go through some of the tweets I had to myself today. So Sean said, the Cuz make us play all our games on the moon and they still fancy us, but it does make you laugh that it even suggests only some could be neutral venues. Surely it should be all at neutral grounds or none at all, which you have to absolutely agree with. But I'm not going to lose any sleep over it, whatever they decide to do, as I've never thought home grounds should have been such a big issue when the fans weren't there anyway. As a pre-season, I think the players have had enough rest during this, so they should be able to manage with a much shorter break for pre-season, in my opinion. I think 2 fair points there. I think certainly the neutral grounds, I think if you're asking some teams to play at neutral grounds, if there's any kind of risk, then everyone's got to play at neutral grounds. You can't just have it uneven like that. I do think there is some advantage to playing at home. I think the main one is the 12th man, the fans, but I think it's only little tiny percentages. It's only little percentages, but you've got to think like there's no travelling involved. the pitch dimensions, little things like that, but little small percentages. I think there is a little advantage to playing at home, even without the fans. I do believe in that. But again, I'm not going to lose any sleep over it. I still think if you're one of the top 2 teams in the league, like ourselves and West Brom, you probably can win anywhere, theoretically. And I think hopefully that will be the case if they do decide to put that on us. I think the pre-season point's very fair as well. I think there has been a mini pre-season anyway, and I think no matter what you decide to do, the easiest thing to affect is the pre-season at the end of the day. So yeah, I'd have to agree with that as well. Tommy LUFC said, won't feel as special if we can't lift the title or celebrate promotion at Elland Road. I don't mind the shortened pre-season, brackets more football, but there can't be extended Premier League with more games despite less of a pre-season. It's not fair on the players. So what Tommy's talking about there is that this idea of the bottom 6 of the Premier League don't want relegation, but if you're asking for a shortened pre-season, no relegation for the bottom 6, all of a sudden you're asking for like a 23-team Premier League. That equates to 44 games, if my maths does me right. It's like 6 extra games all of a sudden, with less time, with less pre-season. It just can't happen that way, so there has to be relegation. And that's effectively what the Premier League said there. So very fair points made by Tommy IFC. Tom Barkers has said, neutral venues doesn't really bother me. No fans being there gets rid of home advantage anyway. Much shorter pre-season doesn't matter either, in my opinion, as it'll still be in good shape from this season. Yeah, I think a lot of the comments have been about the pre-season's not much of an issue. The neutral grounds has kind of been a bit of a 50-50 thing, but I don't think there's anyone massively losing sleep over that issue. It's just annoying. It's just an annoying inconsistency. But I have to agree with what Tom at Box has said there. No fans being there is probably the biggest advantage of being at home. But I still think there's some little, we're only talking small percentages. I said about the travelling, your own dressing room, it's just the home comforts element of it. But, it's not something to lose sleep over. But it should be consistent across the board. It should be consistent across the board for me. John Paul Redmond, hopefully fans stay away from the ground. We won't have to play in neutral venues. I don't think there will be a pre-season. When this season ends, the new season will start straight away anyway. I think that could well happen. I think the only slight issue you could have with that, the season starting straight away, is the issue of transfers. If you're going to change manager, etc., etc. Obviously the planning element of pre-season. But at the end of the day, something's going to be affected, and the most likely thing to be affected is pre-season. I think for me, I'm looking at it and saying I'd probably rather get rid of things like the League Cup just for a year. Do we really need a League Cup? Not for me. I think it's massively extends, a team's fixtures list. I just think we can get rid of the League Cup for 1 year. And just have the FA Cup or whatever, or whichever way around you want to do it. Maybe a couple of other little mini tournaments, etc., etc. The Community Shields, tournaments like that. We can probably make do without those for 1 season, especially when there's no fans in the ground. There's no point in those games for me. I think that should have the FA Cup, League campaign, and European football. That's all we need for this next season. Let's not bother with the League Cup for me. But I'm sure there'll be people who disagree with that. But for me, let's shorten that fixture list as much as we can next season. It's going to be a shortened amount of time. Let's keep the games to a high quality. Let's not tire the players out. Let's not have loads of fatigue across teams, etc., etc. Let's try and be as sensible as we can for me. And for me, let us know in the comments, guys. Would you get rid of the League Cup? For me, 100%. That'd be one of the first things I get rid of is the League Cup. I've never seen the point of it anyway. Community Shield, friendly tournaments like that. Let's just get rid of them. For me, just for 1 season. Northern Ireland Whites makes a very, very good point as well. I reckon no matter what venue Leeds play at, we will have fans in the general area of the venue. I'm already hearing of fans planning trips from my neck of the woods, boat to Scotland and driving down to Leeds, or wherever it will be held. Neutral venues is irresponsible and unfair. A very, very, very good point that for me, for Northern Ireland Whites. The idea that neutral venues is going to solve all the issues. You're still going to have Leeds fans in London if you decide to play the games in London. Leeds fans in Birmingham if you decide to play the Leeds games in Birmingham. And then you potentially have as well. And it's not just Leeds fans. Let's not just say this about Leeds fans. We've got this about Liverpool fans, any fans. It's just always Liverpool and Leeds. Always seem to be the 2 teams that get picked on things like this. I don't see why. I don't see why Millwall, Stoke, etc., etc. I don't get why they suddenly get away with things, or other teams that have got things to play for, etc., etc. Just any team, really, any team. Why is it just Leeds, Liverpool, etc., etc.? It just seems absolutely madness to me. But potentially, if you have got fans travelling down to, like, say if Leeds played Villa Park, if you've got fans travelling to Villa Park, congregating outside Villa Park, all of a sudden you're moving the virus from Leeds to Birmingham, potentially. So that's just as bad, for me. It's just as bad. I just don't see how Dortmund's Bayern Munich, the biggest game of the calendar in Germany, went ahead, title decider, absolutely massive game for both teams. No fans congregate outside the grounds. Why can't that happen in England? There's no reason why it can't. It's just typical assuming the worst. For me, I don't see why. Don't get me wrong, there will be one or two fans who might try and gather outside the grounds, but I think Elland Road is probably one of the easiest grounds to close off. You've got the gate going into the West Stand, between the West Stand and South Stand. You've got the bridge just under by the Kop as well. It's quite an easy ground to secure. I would have thought Elland Road, especially around the West Stand side of the ground. Maybe the East Stand's a little bit more difficult, but it's just close off the gates. It stops the issue straight away. It stops anyone getting within, 10, 20 metres of the ground. You're just pushing fans back straight away. At Elland Road, I think Anfielders get wet as well. I don't know if you guys know a lot about Anfield around the ground, but again, quite an easy ground to close off. You just have to close the Kop gates, etc., etc. Why Leeds and Liverpool? Why? Again, I'm bringing up Liverpool because I'm actually from near Liverpool. It's just frustrating that, I don't know why we just decided such high-risk games. I don't know why it's just those two teams. Let us know in the comments if you disagree, but yeah, I just think it's irresponsible, the idea of neutral venues, and I'm against it. Either have it for all the teams or not at all. Liam Horsley said, shorter pre-season will benefit us, increases the chances Marcelo Bielsa and Calvin stay. In terms of neutral venues, I think it doesn't matter. With no fans, it's hardly any difference, and would hate for us to risk stopping the season again with fans turning up to Elland Road. Yeah, again, I still think we can get promoted in neutral venues. 100%. I do still think we can get promoted in neutral venues, and I'm certainly not going to use it as an excuse. It's just an annoying inconsistency. It's an annoying inconsistency. You look at some of the teams that have handled this virus really well, put no barriers to the season coming back, and all of a sudden they're being punished for doing well effectively, for being up there and having title deciding games. It just seems unfair to me, guys. But yeah, I have to agree with a lot of that. I think certainly Marcelo Bielsa, Calvin Phillips staying, and a short pre-season helping that, I can definitely get on board with that. And yeah, that would be absolutely massive. Keeping Calvin and Marcelo Bielsa, if we can have that shorter pre-season. Because I think there will be a lot of turmoil at a lot of different clubs over pre-season. Can we keep steady ourselves? I think we will. I think we have got a steady succession plan, and that's hopefully what we're going to do. Kev has said, hi Oscar, I've got to say I'm nervous, but the lads have been keeping so fit and we're playing so well. I get the feeling it's in the bag. Come on Leeds, do this for so many reasons. Yeah, I mean, looking at the mini pre-season, as I'm going to call it, I think the fans look at the players look in really good shape, especially John Kevin Augustin. Looks like absolutely fantastic shape. You can tell he's been really working hard. I think all the players look probably as well as they did before the delay to the season as such, the temporary delay as such. So yeah, I think I've got to agree with that as well. I think hopefully, and that will come to fruition as well. We will hit the ground running, but it's one of those. We've just got so many games to go. I'm not sure I can be that as confident as Kev is there, but yeah, you've got to have confidence. You've got to have some confidence that we can finish the job off. Just get through that Fulham game for me. Just get through that Fulham game. Get through that one, and hopefully we've got a big enough lead to finish off the job then. Dave Rosen, if using the same criteria as for Liverpool, brackets game where could win title, looking likely, will backfire, more folk liable to have a day out at a neutral venue, in my opinion. And Dave is absolutely spot on there. I just think it's incredibly irresponsible and naive to do that. I just don't see why we can't just follow what Germany's done. I just don't see why that can't be done. I don't see why England has to be so different in that sense. Let us know in the comments, guys, if you disagree. But for me, that's my feeling on it. Alex at Riot Badger has said neutral venues is fine if it's equally applied across the league. Just imposing on us and West Bromwich Albion is an unfair disadvantage. Short pre-season will disadvantage anyone new joining the squad, as there are levels to fitness and Bielsa demands much higher than most. Yeah, I think obviously from the fitness point of view, pre-season could have a massive impact. And yeah, I have to, as I've said about the neutral venues, if you have it for some teams and not others, it's just not even. Have it across the board. If you have it across the board, fine, no problem at all. But having it for some teams and not other teams, I just think is unfair. I think it's unfair on the actual teams playing the games. But there you go. I'm sure there'll be teams who'll be commenting down below and saying that how out of order and deluded I am. If you want to, go ahead and do so. So Kenny B, get the season finished as soon as possible. Don't really care what other clubs supporters think. Promotion is promotion, even if there's an asterisk. We also need to stop fussing over next season. Why interfere with enjoying your main course with your thoughts of dessert? Yeah, no, it's a fair point. I think a lot of discussion has been about next season. I think the only reason I bring up next season is because Spain and France have both already said when their next seasons are going to start. I think Spain said middle of September, France said middle of August. So potentially it's just just an observation that we're looking at a shortened pre-season. But yeah, I agree. This season's the priority. Get this season out of the way first, and let's see what happens after that. But I think the idea of the shortened pre-season could impact on next season as well. But let's wait and see, guys. Let's wait and see. But I do agree, this season's a priority. As I've mentioned earlier in the video, let's get this season finished off first, and then look forward. And let's see how we can finish next season off before Euro 2020. Let's wait and see on that one, guys. And Alan Foreman says, start 2021 season as soon as possible, and good time for a 3-4 week winter break. And that's an interesting one, to be fair. That is a really interesting one. Having like a pre-season in the middle of the season. I've already said I've always been in favour of a winter break. I'm not a massive. Don't get me wrong. I like Boxing Day football, New Year's Day football, but I'm not a massive fan of it. I think as you get towards say if there's 4 games during Christmas, I think you get into the 3rd or 4th game, it's just so slow, the games. All the players look tired. It's just poor quality. Too many games. And yeah, to be fair, that's a good shout, that, the idea of finishing this season off, starting straight away, and having a 3-4 week winter break. Let us know in the comments if you're in favour of that. I think the only issue I can see with that is the no transfer window, or having the transfer window in the middle of the season, and no chance for players, teams to change manager, etc., etc. But it's one of those things, guys. I don't think it's going to be ideal no matter which way you go about it. I think it's always going to affect 1 or 2 teams, or even more than that, as you go about it. But guys, yeah, let us know in the comments your thoughts on neutral venues, pre-season, etc., etc., and just your general thoughts on the season. Is June 20th too soon? What your general thoughts on it? Can we finish off the job? And make sure you look out, guys. Got plenty of content coming out for you, but tomorrow we've got a very, very special announcement. So make sure you keep your eyes peeled for that, guys. I'm going to leave it there anyway. I've been Oscar Marriott. Apologies for not having many uploads in the last couple of weeks. But guys, promise you, we're back to regularly uploading. I'll see you later, guys. All these TV. See you later, guys.